about how to effectively set boundaries. The first way is get clear on your boundaries. You can't communicate what you don't understand. Most people only recognize that a boundary was necessary after it's been crossed. Psychologically, this happens because we're conditioned, often from childhood, to override our body's early warning signs like irritation, fatigue, or anxiety in order to please, perform, or avoid conflict. According to Dr. Gabor Mante, chronic people pleasing disconnects us from our internal cues, our body's way of signaling what's too much. Over time, this erodes self trust and leaves us reactive instead of proactive. Now, how would you do this? Firstly, you need to tune into your body's signals. Pay attention to moments you feel tension in your shoulders, exhaustion after certain interactions, or irritation when someone calls. These sensations are information, not overreaction. Secondly, ask yourself, what would make me feel safe, respected, or at peace in this situation? Secondly, what feels like too much for me right now? The third question, where do I consistently feel resentment or guilt? The third step, journal the patterns. Write down the people or situations that leave you drained. Over time, you'll see your boundary themes, whether it's time, money, emotional labor, or personal space. Let's make an example. If you feel resentful every time your cousin calls with regards to money, that is your financial boundary being crossed. Your new boundary could be, I no longer lend money to family. I'll support in other ways, like sharing budgeting tools or helping explore other resources. The second step that you need to do is to communicate your boundaries clearly and calmly. Now, boundaries lose power when they're vague, delayed, or wrapped in apologies. Clear communication is what transforms a public decision into a public agreement. Psychologically, many people struggle here because of fear of rejection or conflict avoidance, common amongst those who grew up equating peace with silence. Research by Dr. Brene Brown shows clearly that kindness is when we communicate honestly, we reduce conflict and confusion. Now, how would you do this? Firstly, state your boundaries simply and directly. Avoid long explanations or emotional disclaimers. Instead of, I'm really sorry, I just have so much going on, say, I won't be able to take this on right now. Secondly, use the I language. This keeps the focus on your experience instead of blaming. For example, you can say, I need some quiet time after work instead of, you're always so loud when I get home. Thirdly, hold your tone steady. Calm delivery communicates confidence. You're not asking for permission, you are informing others of what works for you. For example, if relatives expect you to host the Christmas dinner or every family gathering, you could simply say, I've loved hosting in the past, but it's becoming overwhelming for me. I'll sit this one out and I'm happy to contribute a dish or I'll bring meat. The third step for you in asserting your boundaries is start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. The brain resists sudden change, especially for those conditioned to overgive. Gradual, consistent practice helps rewire your nervous system for safety in saying no. This builds new habits, works best through small, repeatable acts of courage and not massive leaps. Now, how can you do this? First, choose low stake boundaries first. Start with people or situations that feel safe. For example, you can decline a favor before tackling a big financial ask. Practice saying no out loud. This is the second step. Rehearse in front of a mirror or with a coach who helps you with your assertive communication. The third step, celebrate micro successes. Each time you honor a limit, acknowledge it. Confidence grows with consistency. For example, instead of announcing, I'm done helping everyone financially, you might start with, I can't help this month. Hi, if you have been enjoying this episode, I have something that you will love. It is a course that I have created which moves you from guilt based giving to empowered giving. It is called the Black Tax Full Freedom Framework, and I have left a link below. Let's get back to the episode. Boundaries is expect resistance. And you may ask, why does this matter? Well, when you start setting boundaries, people used to your yes may not celebrate your no. Resistance is a sign of realignment, not failure. Psychologically, this triggers fear because we're wired for belonging, and saying no can feel like rejection. But as Dr. Harriet Lerner notes, conflict is not the enemy, disconnection from self is. Now, how do you do this? Firstly, anticipate emotional reactions. People may guilt trip you, they may argue, or they may withdraw. Don't take it personally. They are adjusting to the new normal. Secondly, hold steady and repeat your boundary. Consistency builds trust and clarity over time. The third step, ground yourself. Before responding, take deep breaths or step away because emotional regulation helps you to stay anchored in your truth. Let's give an example. If your sibling reacts with, you've changed when you decline a request, you can calmly say, I'm learning to manage my energy better. I care deeply about you. I just can't help in that way anymore. Now, the fifth step, reinforce consistency. Now, this matters because a boundary's power lies in consistency, not in perfection. If you set a boundary once but don't uphold it, others learn that it's negotiable. Psychologically, consistent follow through builds self trust, a cornerstone of healthy identity formation, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which ties self esteem and self actualization to personal integrity. Now, how would you do this? Firstly, repeat your boundary without changing the rules midway. If you have said, I don't lend money, don't make exceptions under pressure. The second step, track your progress. Use a journal or note app to record how often you uphold versus override your boundaries. Thirdly, adjust, don't abandon it. You can refine your boundaries as circumstances change. When matters is that you remain intentional. Let's give an example. If a friend keeps pushing after you've said no, calmly respond, I've already shared my decision and it hasn't changed. Step number 6 in setting your boundaries, handle guilt with grace. Now, guilt often shows up after setting a boundary, especially for those raised in cultures that equate giving with love. But guilt isn't proof you did something wrong, it's proof you're breaking an old pattern. Neuroscience shows that new behaviors trigger discomfort in the brain's amygdala, which interprets change as danger. Recognizing guilt as a signal, not as a sign, is key. Now, what are the steps that you need to do in achieving this? Firstly, name the guilt. Say, this is my old conditioning speaking. Awareness breaks the emotional loop. Secondly, reaffirm your values. Remember why this boundary matters to you, to protect your well being, purpose, or peace. Thirdly, replace the guilt with gratitude. Thank yourself for honoring your needs instead of abandoning them. Now, let's have an example. After telling your mom you can't help financially this month, guilt creeps in. Now, you need to remind yourself, I'm creating long term stability so I can help sustainably, not from depletion. You cannot pour from an empty cup. The seventh and very last step, review and revise regularly. Now, boundaries are living systems, they're not rigid walls. As you evolve, your limits shifts. Reviewing them keeps you aligned with your values, roles, and energy capacity. According to positive psychology, regular reflection strengthens self awareness, the foundation of emotional intelligence and healthy relationships. Now, how can you do that? First, schedule boundary check ins. Once a month, ask yourself, how do I feel? Do I feel resentful or peaceful? Let that guide you. Two, celebrate your growth. Acknowledge how far you've come and the improvements that you've made. Three, update your communication. If a boundary needs to shift, for example, offering limited help instead of total withdrawal, communicate that clearly. Let's make an example. You may now realize that you have more emotional capacity to engage with family, but still within limits. This is what you might say: I can help with research for your project, but not with finances. You're still helping. You've reviewed and now you're implementing. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If there's any step that you have taken or that resonates with you, please engage in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. Furthermore, please share, comment, subscribe, and like. I appreciate you. Till next time.